So it's all to play for still.
I think so. Do you want to bet against us?
Hi, villains, and welcome to For the Love of Paul McGrath podcast. A little one here just to discuss something I think that we saw broke today via Matteo Moretto. Again, somebody who's mentioned a couple of people in the same vein as Aston Villa this summer. He has linked us with Mallorca. Striker, come left midfielder, come attacking midfielder centre, which I think realistically kind of plays a hybrid position of all of those, floating between the 9, 10 and also into the wide channels, the left wide channel positions as well. As I say, he's a Korean footballer, plays for Mallorca, has 10 appearances for South Korea with no goals for their senior national team. He started off his career at Valencia. He's had a bit of a storied career, to be honest with you, because he joined Valencia in 2011. He was actually only 11 years of age, 10, just going on 11 years of age when he joined Valencia. And he's been really immersed within the Spanish football stratosphere, if that's what you want to call it, which is something that isn't very common for somebody from Asia. I'm going to speak about it in a moment, just all the bits and pieces that come with that. And I've got some quotes from the Valencia sporting director and the Valencia general director as well with regards to it. But he's obviously started out in 2017. He got his break for the Valencia B team and made his debut on the 21st of December 2017. He had his first assist in the 17th of February 2018 and his first goal on the 6th of May 2018 as well. So all in all for Valencia's B team, played 26 league games, scored 4 goals, was then transferred up to, or was then moved, should I say, up to the Valencia starting team, 44 games, league games, 2 goals. Then he got his move to Mallorca in 2021, where he spent 45 games and scored 3 goals for them as well. So he's an interesting type character. As I say, I found him very difficult to compare directly to any player that we have in the team at the moment. That's not to say that he's this transitional talent that has this position that nobody plays. I think it's really just he moves around the field so much, as in he's positionless in the way that he likes to play, that I found it very difficult to kind of categorize him. And when I do these statistical analysis, I like to pit him up against current players that we have. Now, I thought about Leon Bailey. I thought that was unfair, considering Leon Bailey is a touchline hugger when he plays in the wing, and obviously he's played up front recently. Maybe that is a position that Unai Emery sees for this person. We will see in a moment as to potentially why. But I think he's kind of more in the vein of an Emi Buendia, and I've put in Philippe Coutinho there as well because, as I say, this guy doesn't do a hell of a lot of defending. He's more, when he gets on the ball, he makes things happen, but he drifts into the wide channels, plays through the centre, and as I say, sometimes as well for Mallorca, he has played up top in the striker's position. But let's take a little look at some of the slides I've put together, and we'll see what we can find. By the way, if you do like this podcast, please give us a thumbs up, and I would really appreciate it if you could subscribe on YouTube and the audio podcast as well, because we do pop in audio podcasts from time to time that don't show up on YouTube. So if you do like what we do, please join us on the audio side of things as well. So here it is, Lee Kang-in, as I say. It was really interesting today. I was speaking to somebody on Twitter today, and I'm actually going to try and just remember the way that they said it to me. But I'm very much in the mold of trying to pronounce names in the vernacular as they will be pronounced within that country. Being Irish as well, and having a sister with an Irish name, sometimes the people can butcher that Irish name. And look, it's nice to be nice as well and to mention and to pronounce it in the vernacular. And I've been reliably told that you drop the L at the very start if you were to say this in Korean, and it would be Lee Kang-in. So that's how I'm going to pronounce his name from here on out. So Lee Kang-in, as I say, he's a highly thought of player. I just wanted to showcase some of the Twitter football scouts that I follow and some of the good stuff they've said about him. These both range from about 2 to 2.5 years ago when he was a real starlet after joining Mallorca from from Valencia, or his star was on the up at Valencia before he joined Mallorca. And we can see here that Jacek Kulik, the football talent scout, really great guy. If you aren't following him on Twitter, please get following him. And also Scouted Football, like Joe Donoghue there at Scouted Football. If you aren't even subscribed to their monthly magazines, you really are doing it wrong. But here's some nice words that they've said about it. Jacek says that he's an advanced playmaker, would be the position he plays in. Obviously, across that kind of midline attacking midfielder, left winger, right winger. Strengths that Jacek says are pace, passing, vision, dribbling, creativity, technique, ball control, and set pieces. And he likens him to a David Silva type player, which I think we would all love. And actually, you can see a bit of David Silva. We will talk about that in a moment as to why he potentially gets the moniker or is likened to David Silva, because both of them, obviously, as we know, had careers at Valencia. At Scouted Football there, they've got him down as a player to watch, where they say he's extremely technical with great touch, balance, and spatial awareness. If you watch him, and once again, in conjunction with this video, there will be a tweet whereby you will be able to watch some clips of him as well. I would appreciate if you do that, and also follow us on Twitter too. They say that he's got very good spatial awareness. That actually strikes me in abundance when I watch this guy. He knows, he hears things going on around him, and he's fully aware of his five senses when he's playing the game as well, which you'd think is easy, but a lot of people don't have it. So much of South Korea's best attacking moments will likely develop through or end with Lee Kang. And he has the Kang-in, sorry, I lapsed out of my pronunciation there. He has the ability to create something out of nothing. These were both written in conjunction with South Korea being in the Under-20 World Cup as well. So these were both two kind of scout reports written or tweets written when they were in the Under-20s World Cup. When we look at his and when we look at his heat map here on the left-hand side, we can see it is predominantly left side based. We know that's where Buendia likes to hang out, and that's why I've put him up there against Buendia to show what the differences are, the similarities actually that you will see between the two players, and that's something that will be coming up in a moment. So here we can see it. We've got three spiderograms. As I say, I found it difficult to put him in a specific bracket because he does play up top, he does hug the touchline, and sometimes he plays as a central attacking midfielder role. It doesn't quite show it out there. When we say he plays up top, he plays as more a left-sided striker, and he is tasked with dropping deep. So he isn't one of those workhorses whereby he is like these numbers that you see here. The percentages here are actually done as wide midfielders as opposed to wingers or attacking midfielders. So if you look at the percentiles that he has here, that's in comparison to wide midfielders. Are actually some central midfielders. Okay, so it's not done with regards to wingers and attacking midfielders. That's why I found it difficult to brand this guy specifically, because I get a lot of my stats from FBref. Thank you very much to FBref. Keep up the great work there, and that's where all these percentages come. I don't tally these up myself, but I wanted to show in the radial graph here with regards to players that are maybe tasked with having the ball a small bit further forward. It's an interesting kind of a juxtaposition, I suppose, to see between these three players, because what we can see is that, you know, he keeps pace with a lot of what Buendia and Coutinho does, until you come across how many shots he takes. Obviously, being a younger player, he probably would have been more disciplined, taking less shots. His pass completion is there and thereabouts, in and around the same as the two guys, maybe a small bit lower, couple of percent lower. Doesn't attempt as many passes either. But what we can see here is that he's very much more successful in his dribbling ability. And with regards to central midfielders and wide midfielders, he's up in the top 96 percentile of those players. And I thought that was really, really interesting, because when Emery mentioned here recently that he was looking for a winger, I think he's looking for somebody who can carry the ball. Villa don't really have that many ball carriers. That's why we go through the centre and the ball ends up with Luca Dean on the left wing, because we don't have many ball carriers and we can't really carry the ball on that left-hand side. We've got Leon Bailey on the right-hand side who can carry the ball. Buendia can carry the ball. Once again, as I say, he's not very successful. He's not very good at it. We can see there in comparison to Lee Kang-in that he's about 10% behind him, if not more, maybe closer actually to 15% less successful dribbles. And when we look at the dribble attempts as well, Lee Kang-in has a higher dribble attempts. It's not shown on the metrics there. One thing I did want to show here is the dispossessed metric that we have here. Buendia gets dispossessed quite a lot, and Lee Kang-in also does as well. So while he's got great ball control and great spatial awareness, he is a risk player, so he can get dispossessed. Also, he's only 5'8" as well, just like a Buendia, and that's another reason why I wanted to put him in there with the Buendia and the Coutinho statistics for Aston Villa, because there's the same diminutive stature as well, and that's something to bear in mind. One thing I want to draw your attention to is, at such a young age, at 21 years of age, this guy is keeping pace with goal-creating actions and shot-creating actions. Well, more so the shot-creating actions. We're keeping pace with Buendia and with Coutinho. That's something I find interesting as well, given that he has a smaller workload within the team, smaller pass attempts, smaller worse pass completion, less shots that he takes. So keep that in mind, because that to me means he's creating better quality chances with less that he had, less attempts, less passing attempts, less shooting attempts, and so on and so forth. Couple that with his dribbling success and the fact he's only 21 years of age. He gave Paulo Bento a real eye-opening moment before. Like, he's formed from Mallorca in the way he started the league this season. Paulo Bento couldn't leave him out of the squad. It was touch and go as to whether he would be in the squad prior to this year, but he rattled off some very good performances this year. Paulo Bento put him in the squad, and you know, the rest is kind of history, because he went on to play in the World Cup. So as I mentioned, that he has been likened with David Silva, and he has come through Valencia's prestigious academy. In fairness, they have a very good academy at Valencia. It's produced the likes of David Silva, Juan Mata, as I said in the past, and that's, I think, why he gets the moniker of maybe, you know, a David Silva type. But he has learned from the same school of hard knocks as those two guys, and that is something that is really interesting, because they are two very good, very technical players, well able to carry the ball and well able to deliver the ball when they need it to, as David Silva has a statue of him, for God's sake. But I think one of the biggest things that we can see is that he's a polished player. He's a polished player, but he's also growing in some other areas. Like, he hasn't been asked to do an awful lot of defensive work in that role yet, but in the areas that he's been growing in over the course of the last year, 2 years, you can see progression, or it's been said you can see progression as well when you look at the individual match breakdowns for him on FBref, or when you maybe look at it in Voice Scout, or whatever software that maybe you guys have, or if you don't have it, that's fine. If you look at it, you can see the progression is better. You know, he's getting a bit more of a workload. He's been trusted more. He came into a Valencia team who had sold David Silva, Juan Mata, Ferran Torres, Danny Pereiro, all these guys, and he was tasked and trusted with picking up the mantle for some of those guys, because they thought that much of him. And that's really interesting, because they're all some big names that were mentioned that transitioned out of that Valencia team into other teams, and youth were to pick up the mantle there, and one of them was Lee Kang-in. He's very much an attacking player. Okay, I think that shows in these statistics there as well. But he's a brilliant team attacker, because he's great at making a pass that you mightn't see. As I say, his spatial awareness is very good. He understands when there's people bombing up behind him, and he makes passes into space, but he also utilizes space really cleverly as well. He gets into space for other players. He knows, we'll say, that spatial awareness is very good for him. He gets out of players' ways into a more fortuitous position to take a pass. Yes, does he lose the ball from time to time? He absolutely does. He can get out muscled. He's 5'8", but he's got a decent enough stature in him, and he's only 21 years of age. This is stuff that comes with experience, and will probably be something that we will see if he was to join Aston Villa. He would probably come off the bench in a lot of areas, in a lot of instances to start, and he would need to learn that, because it is a bit more of a physical league. But can he deal with it? He absolutely can, because he's very good at evading pressure when he's underneath pressure as well. He's a superb passer of the ball, as I say, and he really adds to a counter-attacking team, which Aston Villa could be accused of being, because he's quite pacey with the ball at his feet, and he's a good dribbler. He's a good counter-attacker as well, and he's a good tool to use within the counter-attack, because he's in transition. He's very quick to supply the ball, so he's not a ball hog. He doesn't take too much out of the ball. He will pass that ball to another player. He's a selfless player as well. Very good in lateral passes, I say, raking passes to try and spread the play left or right. If he picks it up in the center, he will likely go wide with it from time to time. Obviously, he goes through the center too, but he's got a good range of passing, is what I'm trying to say here as well. He really only uses long passes to switch the play, as we see Aston Villa do as well. But he does have high accuracy level with long passes as well, specifically when they are going laterally. He's quite good. He spots that space, as I say, special awareness once again. And this could be interesting if he does have an overlapping fullback and he does cut inside, because he does that and he's a bit gets into that inverted winger slash false 10 role, or whatever you want to call it, position that they have. And then obviously playing lateral balls to an onrushing fullback, which we know that our fullbacks like to get forward, can consistently spread the play as well, which is nice to do. So I suppose realistically, all in all, strong technical ability, uses his body. Yes, he uses his body smartly. That's a note that I have down here, because I watched the game that he played against Valencia. Ironically enough, played a game against Valencia towards the start of this season, I think it was. And I've watched like 40 minutes of it today, scrubbing through at double speed. And he used his body really well. As I say, like, he's able to roll tackles. So like when players get the spatial awareness lens in the defensive side of things as well, or when he's trying to sheed the ball, because as players come towards him, he's able to roll those tackles. So that's what I mean by he uses his body well. He's able to take collisions when he is tackled. So his body usage is quite good. He understands the dynamics, and I suppose the physics of how to stay up when you do get a hit. Very clever and opportunistic, with the ball at his feet. Very good positional awareness. One thing I did see from him, and I haven't mentioned down here, is that when he goes to pass, or one of those lateral passes, or even when he goes to shoot, there's little to no backlift. It's one of those beautiful strikes that you see. Now, obviously, there are instances, but he can ping a ball with little to no backlift, and you wouldn't even notice. It looks no different than if he was to take a wind up on it. Just something I noticed when I was watching him in a couple of the clips, video clips that I saw of him as well. As I say, the strength of dribbling, ball retention, and the use of pace in the counter attack. Now, he's certainly not a player without faults, because consistency is a bit of an issue for him. Needs to be consistently creative, needs to be consistent goal scoring threat. We mentioned the amount of goals that he has so far. He's not even in double figures in senior football yet, but then again, he's only 21 years of age. He needs to be more he needs to affect transitions more, or to be a more effective threat in transition, should I say. So if he's not the person with the ball when the transition is happening, as I say, sometimes his special awareness is good. He gets out of players' way, should I say. Sometimes he almost blunts the attack because he might go too wide. We have that issue with Aston Villa already at the moment. That's why I'm mentioning this. I obviously haven't watched a ton of video on him, but what I've seen is he needs to develop a diagonal run, is essentially what I'm trying to get at here. I love a diagonal run. We saw Danny Ings scored a diagonal run at the weekend. Diagonal runs are going to be pivotal to this Aston Villa team anyway, specifically when we attack through the centre. Didn't see an awful lot of it. Lastly, defensively, the stats point that out. Not a very good press. Not very good in the press. Doesn't tackle an awful lot. Blocks, interceptions. They're not great. He does them, but if doing them to the level of an Emi Buendia or we'll call it Emi Buendia or John McGinn, it's not there. So if he's going to morph into that position for one of those two players, it's not something that I've seen in some of the games I've seen. But then again, once again, he's only 21 years of age, and you can teach defending in the wide places. I'm a firm believer in that. So let's take a little look at another area as well, because as we always have to look at the financial side of things, and Valencia were pretty open with regards to the financial aspects and financial benefits this player brought, albeit as well that he was a very talented footballer. And Sean Bai, the general director of Valencia's academy in 2019, said that Lee Kang-in, that this sets his story apart from other Asian players. He says, for whom he says, the sky is the limit. The story of Kang-in in Valencia is underpinned by breaking limits, talent, dedication, and adaptability. It's a reference point for those in South Korea and Asia who dream of playing professional soccer in Europe one day. These quotes came from Forbes. I didn't reference them there, but I want to mention it. He also says, Kang-in's growing popularity will help to buttress Valencia's image in Asia. Asian players have always captured the imagination of soccer fans in Asia, which is a big region with tremendous interest in the game. So the commercial side of things grew as well with this player. And I'm not saying we sign him for commercial benefits at all. We want a good player. You know, you're going to be spending the bones of 12, 13, 14, 15 million on him. You want to be you want a good player, but also, you know, the financial benefits are there when we do talk about South Korea, obviously, you know, just coming from the World Cup. They've got some big names in their team at the moment, and Lee Kang-in would be one of those into the future as well. Jorge Garcia as well, Valencia's marketing director in 2019, said that South Korea is a country where 36 million people declare themselves soccer fans, and a developed country where numerous great brands come from strategic sectors in the world of sponsorship, automotive, electronics, and banks. With this quote, he said that La Liga has 800 million fans around the world, of which 482 million come from Asia. I don't know what the figure is for the Premier League, but he said that we know that there's big interest there and we try to take advantage of it. And why wouldn't you, when you had that opportunity to do so? But I thought it was just a bit of an interesting piece to mention as well, because you know, he is a rising star within South Korea, and obviously global branding is very, very big for a club like Aston Villa. We talk about finances, we talk about building revenues. You look at all the other big clubs have done that. They've done it through signing some big name players. But you know, if you can sign players in big markets as well, sometimes that can help. And it helps as well that this guy is a pretty damn good footballer too. So that's my little bit on Lee Kang-in from Mallorca. Whether he signs, I don't know. This could be an absolutely nothing rumor. I've no idea whether this is going to be the situation when he does sign or not. But what I would do is, if you do like this and you like what I'm doing, please give this a thumbs up. Also, please subscribe to the podcast as well. We would really appreciate it. In the tweet that you've also go to our Twitter, you'll see a tweet that we have up on Lee Kang-in. Underneath it, you'll see some video footage of him playing also. And if you do like that, follow us on Twitter for more. So until next time, everybody, stay safe, stay healthy, and all that's left to say is up the Villa.